Okay, this is going to be lesson 6, and we're going to talk about how to use the NiFi API. There's a really useful tool that NiFi has. It's an API call that lets you get information about your NiFis, as well as you can actually set some information. Anything you can do through the NiFi GUI by clicking it, you can actually do pretty much through the NiFi API. So we're going to talk about that and go over some examples, and so let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about in this video is how you can actually actually use this NiFi API. How you can view. We're not going to really set anything, but we're going to view a lot of the information in the flow file that I have, my demo flow file from my NiFi Designs website, and you get information back based that will be JSON representation. I'll give you some examples. API examples will be like info about the NiFi instance, maybe when was it created, maybe information about the status of the graph, how many processes are stopped, how much stuff's in the queue, and maybe some configuration information, what version is NiFi running, and stuff like that. And then I also created added some stuff to my NiFi instance to actually process some API information. So we'll show you that. For this video, there's several URLs that you might find of interest. Of course, the main one is you always want to go to is the NiFi Apache website. And there's a documentation page there that talks about one of the things it talks about is all the NiFi APIs you can use to call. There's my NiFi Designs website that takes you to my little page that describes how the NiFi web page works as far as some of the stuff I display. And then there's actually my NiFi instance that we're going to be hitting in this demo that actually is running the version of NiFi with a bunch of processors on it. The other thing I like to do, since we get a lot of the information back for our NiFi API in JSON format, there's a website I like to use that lets me just easily, nicely view the JSON information on a simple web page. And I put a shortcut for all the stuff we're going to talk about on my Silver Cloud Computing web page under the NiFi.html page. I think it's NiFi Tips. And if you click there, it also has a bunch of quick links to all the APIs we're going to talk about. So let's go ahead and do the video demo, and I'll show you how all this works. Alright, so as an easy quick thing, I put a link in my NiFi Silver Cloud Computing page called NiFi Tips. And if you click on that and then scroll down a little bit, I added a new section that actually provides quick links for some of the APIs we're going to talk about in this video demo. So everything I'm going to talk about in this video demo, you can just click here. It'll take you there right away with some different examples of how to use the NiFi API call. All right, so let's go ahead and start from the top. We'll go to the NiFi web page, Apache NiFi. Go to the documentation, and you scroll down, click down on NiFi Docs. And the section we're interested in is the NiFi API definition, REST API, and there describes all the APIs that you can use for NiFi. How we're going to test it against my NiFi web page. So if you go to NiFi Designs and you click on, let's see, if you click on my web page, NiFi demo web page, we're going to go ahead and use the API against this NiFi version that I'm running. And if you're logged in as guest, you can do the same things we're going to show you on this video. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and get some information about our NiFi. So if you look here in the drop down, you can actually do some about information to get the version. This is version 1.13.2, and when it was created, March 2021. We can recall that same information through the NiFi API. So what we're going to do is flow about. So it's going to be the NiFi API. The URL is going to be NiFi API /flow/about, and that'll bring back the same information that we just displayed on the about page in our NiFi graph. So let me go ahead and type that in, and we're going to put /NiFi/API. So I'll just go ahead and cut and paste that. Everything you do for the NiFi API, you got to have this reference NiFi API as part of your URL. And then we're going to go flow about. Then we'll go ahead and copy that and put that in our browser, and we'll do a NiFi API call to my NiFi web page. And there it is. So there's a JSON representation of that information that was displayed on the NiFi web page. So you can see the information matches, like the version number. That matches the version number over on the about side. as well as the date information and other stuff as well. Next thing we can try out is we'll try the banner. There's a banner API. So again, same sort of deal. I'm going to do flow banners. So I'll just copy the word banners instead. And I'll paste that over here and hit return. And now I get banner information, JSON representation of the banner information. You can see that banner matches what I have in the title of my banner over there. Okay, and if you look at the NiFi graph, you can see that there's a lot of statistics there, like 190 running processes. There's stuff in the queues, 1,400 files. And I can pull back that information as well through JSON and a NiFi API. And what I'm going to do for that is going to be flow status. So if I want to call up the flow status, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and copy that. So we're going to go status and replace that with status. And I'm going to get back in JSON again all the information about my NiFi running instance. So I'll have things like number of processes running, 190, it matches what was showed in the JSON representation. How many files are in the queue? I think it's about 1,400 files. Again, it shows it there. So it's, again, another way to retrieve information about your NiFi using the NiFi API. Let's do another one. How about NiFi config? Not too exciting. I think it just shows you what the back pressure is, maybe, and how it's configured, or some things like time. You can just play with some of these and see what you get back. So let's see. Turn that off. Yep. So nothing too exciting. But just again, another NiFi, another way to get information from your NiFi through the API call. And again, for the 20th time, this is all in JSON. Let's see. We can do sys diagnostics, but since I don't have access, I'm not a super user. You can't really get that information. So some information you may not be able to get because you don't have access to get to it. The other thing I can do is log in user. I can show what am I logged in as, and that would be access. And then let's see if we can do another one. System diagnostics. And we won't have access to this one because I think you're logged in as guest, and guest doesn't have access to see the system diagnostics. Okay, the other thing we do is we can actually look at some of the specific components of the NiFi. So if I want to look at say some of these labels to see what the statistics about them, or actually set them, or to see what they're about, I can actually do a NiFi API call for that. So here I'm going to copy the UUID of this particular NiFi processing group, and this isn't going to work for label because that is not a label; it's a processing group. So let's see if this will. I'm sure this will fail because I'm going to say, "Give me information about the label," and I have to provide an ID, and that ID is that UUID I just copied. So if we do that, let's see, label, and then the UUID, and it's going to say you can't find it because it's not there. It's because, again, I copied the wrong one. I want the thing above it in the yellow box. Let me get out of this for a minute and go up one level. Okay, up there. Okay, so I want this guy, and this is the URI I want to put in there. So we're going to copy that URI, hit return, and now I should be able to get the information for that label. And there's all the information about the label, describing its location, where it is, what it says. And I know a lot of these are gets, but you can actually do a thing where you can set some of these values as well through the API, JSON API. Something I like to use is a JSON formatter, just to make it easier to look at some of these things. So let's see if I want to bring up the status page again. There's a JSON parser. So let's copy the JSON information and put it in the JSON parser, and it just makes it easier just to go ahead and see what the path is for some of these values. Now I did set up a demo on my website, on my NiFi instance, to actually just use something like this to go ahead and retrieve the stats of my NiFi and parse the JSON information that you see here and then display it back in the browser. So there it is there. It's called API demo. And how it works is let me get in here. There we go. So it goes out and does our HTTP call, again, the flow status, right? And then it gets the JSON information and it parses it, and then we extract the information from that JSON into these attributes. And then with these attributes, I display those on the web page that you can see in the demo I set up. So if you go back to my NiFi design page, let me go back a little bit here. If you go, if you look at the API demo, you click on that, it actually is hitting that flow, and it will go ahead and display all that information. It's hitting this flow here. So it'll go back and display that information into like a really simple text format that shows the status of that NiFi. We'll go back to our NiFi, and yes, it'll go there. Okay, let's close all this out. And that's it. It's just going around and playing around with it and just playing with the different API calls. That's how you learn it. So in this video, I showed you how to look at the NiFi API documentation. This is just really an exercise in just looking at the different API calls that Apache NiFi provides for you and just trying them out. Some are more restrictive than others, so if you try to access an API that you don't have permission to view, it's going to tell you don't have access to it. I didn't really talk about how you can set some of these things, but you can set some of the NiFi parameters as well as just retrieving stuff. So what I showed you in this video was how to get information about the NiFi, what version it's running. I showed you what the banner was, the status of your current running processors. I use this a lot to see if things backed up. You can actually have some external process that would run this JSON API, and you parse the information back, and if you've got a lot of files backed up or megabytes of data backed up, you can do something about it, flag it, send an email or something like that. But it's the way to get information about your API. Talked about access, so I can see who I am, who's logged in. So we did system diagnostics. This was an example of not being able to view some information because you don't have access. You're just a guest user. And then we displayed information about how to view a label, where you actually have to put in the UUID of that label. And then the other thing I did is I created a sample query that actually goes out and queries the status of my NiFi graph, and then it processes the API, processes the JSON data, and then it views it. It puts it on a nice web page so you can see the results of it. Okay, if you got any questions, just shoot me an email. You can visit my NiFi a Silver Cloud Computing web page. Like I said, I have the information we talked about in this video on the web page. You can actually just click to some of these quick links, and it'll take you right there to show the different types of API calls we talked about. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, NiFi@silvercloudcomputing.com, and I'll do my best to answer them.